Welcome to industrial timber, where raw steel, homemade engineering, hydraulic force, sharp blades, and serious firewood machines turn hard labor into real production. It is about design, control, safety, and machines built to keep working. The automatic wood-cutting machine prototype starts strong. During its trial run, it delivered impressive results, cutting 5 RM of wood in just 2 days. That is not a small test. That is enough work to show whether a machine can keep moving under real pressure. The prototype proves it has reliability, steady output, and the kind of potential that matters for serious firewood production. Of course, it is not perfect yet. There are still minor issues, like the occasional conveyor jam, but that is normal for a prototype. What matters is that the machine kept working and the overall performance stayed strong. With a few improvements to the feed system and material flow, this design could become a very useful automatic cutting setup. Then the focus shifts to axe design, and it shows how much even simple tools have changed over time. An axe used to be just steel mounted on a handle. Now, design is about balance, grip, swing control, and reducing strain on the user. It still keeps that rugged, old-school feeling, but the improvements make the work cleaner and easier. That is the balance good equipment needs. Practical upgrades without losing the feeling of real work. Next, this old log processor comes back to life, and the whole operation is oddly satisfying to watch. Massive logs go in, clean firewood comes out, and everything stacks with a rhythm that feels almost mechanical. What makes it more interesting is how the machine used to need a tractor, but now runs on electricity. That change alone makes the process quieter, cleaner, and easier to manage. It turns heavy wood processing into something that almost looks enjoyable. Then a tree decides to test the house. One moment it looks like a normal situation, and the next it is playing dodgeball with the building. Tree work always looks simple until gravity chooses its own direction. That is why even small jobs around homes need proper planning, because once the trunk starts moving, there is no undo button. Then comes a serious firewood machine that can produce around 3,200 logs per hour, each cut cleanly to 33 centimeters. The operator does not need to touch the blade, the emergency stop is ready, and the drum runs smoothly. That is how industrial firewood processing should look. Fast, controlled, and safer than old manual methods. Still, with machines this loud and this fast, ear protection is not optional. The next DIY splitter packs real power from a 125 RCD 250 gearbox and a 7.5 horsepower engine. It is compact, practical, and strong enough for tough logs. What makes it impressive is the cost effectiveness. This is the kind of machine that makes sense for home users who need serious output without paying commercial machine prices. Then another splitter shows why people are leaving the axe behind. For anyone tired of backbreaking work, this kind of machine changes the whole routine. Instead of swinging all day and wearing yourself down, the splitter takes over the pressure and keeps the firewood moving. That does not mean the work disappears, but it becomes faster, cleaner, and far less brutal on the body. The Modi Master L is built for off-grid firewood work. Hook it to a tractor, and suddenly you have a compact, powerful splitting system that fits perfectly for farms, homesteads, and self-sufficient setups. It is not just about power. It is about being able to work where normal electric machines may not make sense. That makes it a smart choice for anyone processing firewood away from a standard workshop. Then comes a larger splitter that can handle logs up to 5 meters long and turn them into clean stove-sized pieces. When the cone splitter hits the bigger logs, it rips through with serious force. That is the advantage of the right design. Instead of fighting every piece, the machine uses controlled rotation and pressure to break the wood apart smoothly. The double work tables are a major productivity upgrade. While one log is being split, the operator can already prepare the next one. That reduces downtime, keeps the rhythm moving, and increases output without needing a bigger engine. In firewood production, workflow matters just as much as raw force. Then the John Deere belt drive splitter appears. It looks wild, but it works. That does not mean it should be treated casually. Belt-driven setups, exposed motion, and uncontrolled feeding can become dangerous fast. Stay alert around machines like this, because one careless move can turn a clever build into a serious hazard. From a practical standpoint, any uncontrolled action increases injury risk. A glove can catch, a hand can slip, or a log can twist at the wrong moment. Finger, hand, and forearm injuries are not just painful. Most of them are preventable. Controlled movement, clear hand placement, and focused operation need to become habits, not afterthoughts. Then someone uses only a saw and a ruler to split boards in half, basically creating a homemade circular saw setup. It works, but the blade needs attention, especially near the edges. A dull or uneven blade does not just cut poorly. It increases vibration, heat, and risk. Sometimes a machine does not need a full rebuild. It just needs proper sharpening and maintenance. Next, scrap becomes utility. A DIY wood splitter made from an old New Holland baler shows what creative builders can do with leftover equipment. It may be heavy and it may not be the fastest machine in the lineup, but the foundation is solid. With a few changes, it could become a practical, sustainable tool that turns scrap metal into real firewood production. Another high-efficiency splitter follows, slicing through logs with impressive speed. But speed always brings risk. The faster the cycle, the less time the operator has to correct a mistake. Standing clear, feeding carefully, and respecting the movement of the blade are essential. A fast splitter is useful only when it is handled with discipline. Then we see a homemade log splitter built for shorter 25-centimeter pieces. Thick axes can struggle with long, dense logs, but this device cuts through small firewood lengths with ease. It combines safety, speed, and creativity in a simple build that solves a very real problem. Then comes a bigger question. Can you imagine processing 300 cubic meters of oak in a year? That is serious work. This homemade log splitter connected to a rear-mounted setup handles it well, but there is room for upgrades. A system that splits and stacks at the same time would push productivity even further. That is where Firewood machinery keeps evolving, not just cutting faster, but reducing every extra movement around the job. One of the most unique setups is the horse-powered splitter. A horse walking on a treadmill turns a flywheel, and that motion powers the machine. It is old-world energy meeting mechanical creativity. The horse moves naturally, the system creates useful power, and the whole idea feels surprisingly eco-friendly. Not fast by modern industrial standards, but extremely clever. Then a dangerous tree situation reminds everyone why professionals exist. The people nearby are clearly in the wrong place, the tree starts moving, and the whole scene feels like it could go badly at any second. Sometimes the smartest decision is not to improvise. It is to call trained workers before the job becomes a disaster. The homemade chipper that follows is clever, cheap, and functional, but it also looks terrifying. That is the honest truth about many DIY cutting machines. They work, but without proper guards, feeding distance, and emergency stops, they can become extremely dangerous. Creativity is impressive, but safety has to be part of the build. Then the cone-shaped splitter steps in as a simple but effective upgrade for firewood prep. It reduces effort, increases output, and stops operators from fighting with stuck logs all day. The design is basic, but that is part of its strength. A good cone splitter turns a slow, frustrating task into something much smoother. Finally, we see a machine that has been working for 7 years, splitting more than 700 meters of tough wood like cherry and oak. That kind of long-term use says more than any sales pitch. It jams sometimes, because every splitter does, but careful wood positioning keeps the machine working strong. For anyone looking for reliability, durability, and a proven homemade setup, this is the kind of machine that earns respect. That is, industrial timber, automatic cutters, old log processors, DIY splitters, cone systems, chippers, horse-powered builds, safety lessons, and machines built to turn raw wood into usable firewood. Subscribe now for more industrial timber machines, powerful homemade engineering, heavy-duty firewood processing, and real equipment working under real pressure.